Legislation is on its way to Governor J.B. Pritzker's desk that would create a new Department of Early Childhood Agency, sort of a clearinghouse for services focusing on early childhood development. Joining us now on Illinois Lawmakers is the chief sponsor of the bill in the House, Democratic State Representative Mary Beth Canty of Arlington Heights. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start at the beginning. How did you get involved in this effort? I know from covering the governor over the years, this has been a passion of his for decades.
Oh yeah, he is very into early childhood, helping families. It's a strong passion of mine. I'm a mom of two, so I understand these systems. But I had actually had an idea of wanting to move daycare licensing, and I wrote it on a sticky note and then heard the announcement last year that the governor wanted to stand up this new agency, and I said right away, I want a seat at the table. I want to be part of this effort. Were you reading my mind that I wanted to do this exact thing?
He signed an executive order to that effect, I believe, earlier last year, kind of setting the stage for this. So what all went into the creation of the new department? You're actually picking areas off from other agencies, programs that already exist.
Right. So we're taking programs from ISB, DHS, and DCFS and pulling them forward. The ones that focus on early childhood specifically to hopefully streamline things for families across the state. They focus on early intervention, pre-K for all, home visiting, so really covering birth all the way up through pre-K.
And the idea behind a lot of this is to make sure that kids are ready for school, ready to learn when it's time for them to get into pre-K and kindergarten and beyond.
Correct, and it'll also help their parents and caregivers have the supports that they need.
Mm-hmm. One of the areas that it addresses is early childhood block grants for preschools. That's currently under the State Board of Education. How would this be administered?
So we're not fundamentally with this legislation changing the programs themselves. So they will move over. What we're going to do over the next 2 years is study these programs and figure out where can we find efficiencies, common ground, and streamline these efforts so that on July 1, 2026, there is no gap in services or anything to providers and to families.
You alluded to this a little earlier, but it also deals with programs from the Department of Human Services like subsidized child care, home visits, early childhood care interventions as well?
Yes, it absolutely does. And similarly, we'll be studying all of those programs to make sure that we're getting the best into the new agency. If a system is not currently working, it doesn't make sense to keep it the way it is, but it will be studied, moved over so that on July 1, 2026, we're ready to move forward.
And going back to the Department of Children and Family Services, they're the ones who license daycares throughout the entire state of Illinois. How would this work better under this new arrangement?
I think what we're seeing right now are different standards across the board. DCFS has a lot on its plate. So by bringing that piece of their work, that program, under this new department, will make it easier for them to have one system that works across the board.
Families tell me that there's an awful lot of bureaucratic hurdles that they have to face when they're working across agencies from one department to another. How would this improve their ability to cut red tape across the board?
I think because these programs are currently spread across so many agencies, there's a lot of duplication of efforts, duplication of forms, et cetera, and the agencies don't necessarily talk to each other very well. So again, by housing them in one place, you can have someone that can help you navigate and start working all the way across the board in a streamlined fashion.
There was broad bipartisan support for this bill. It passed the Senate 56-0, cleared the House by a vote of 93-18. There was some Republican pushback, though, during last week's floor debate, wondering about the Pritzker administration's ability to actually nail down a hard dollar figure on how much this new agency is going to cost per year. Is that a concern as far as you're concerned?
It's not truly a concern that I have. I think we always need to be mindful of staying on the fiscal path that we are on. We are on a great fiscal path in this state and have been for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And what I think we need to pay attention to is that we are going to be moving these programs. I think we'll see that play out in the agencies themselves, the 3 that remain and the new one. You'll see some shifting across the way there.
We've got about 30 seconds left. One question I have is, This is being phased in over a couple of years. How are you going to determine the metrics that make sure that this is actually working?
I've been working very closely with the governor's team and their transition director, Ann Whalen, through this whole process. I intend to keep doing that. As a legislator, I think it's my job to follow my legislation all the way through to implementation.
Representative Canty, thanks so much for your time on
Thank you
Lawmakers.
so much. Thank you.